Yo, welcome back everybody. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the top 10 best ARs, long range weapons to use right now in Warzone. After all the updates, after all the patches that they did, after the weapon balancing and stuff like that, after the whole Operation Monarch thing. So before the video does keep going on, I want to ask y'all for one thing and one thing only. Drop your boy a like button. It does really help out these YouTube videos, go a long way. And I'll be quiet now and we'll get straight into it. Now the first, I kind of put them in little categories here, from heavy to easy to use to balance, and then some honorable mentions at the end. There are no particular order. I just kind of set these up and I'm going to talk about them. So first here we have the heavy class, which is two categories, which I have the AK-47 Cold War, which is really good, and then I have the Amax, which I don't think is as good as the Cold War AK, but it's still pretty good if you want to use a Modern Warfare weapon. It's probably one of the best Modern Warfare weapons out there still, with the M4 and Grau really in there in the mix. Maybe M13 or the Bruin in there, but really this is kind of like one of the best ones to use from MW. And then for the Cold War AK, it hits really hard, has a grit to TK, and it does a lot of damage per mag, per bullet, and it's really good. So try it out. Grew suppressor, Spetsnaz RPK, 3x scope, 60 rounds, Spetsnaz grip. I love using this in both Caldera and Rebirth. I think you could really intertwine with them in both and use them in both. It's really good. It's low-key a little underrated. I don't see many people rock it, but it's really strong. It does a lot of damage. It's the AK, and it's not that bad at control. Really, it's a little bit more hard on console, but it's really not that bad. Just down left a little bit, and use your left stick to kind of move your aim with it too. Next we have the Amax. Like I said, the Amax is not Cold War AK-47 level, but it's still really good for a Modern Warfare gun. Like I said, one of the better Modern Warfare guns still out there. Same class, long barrel, mono, commando, 45, and then 3x scope. Like I said, they're kind of heavy guns with a good amount of recoil, but hit really heavy. So if you like those type of weapons, this is the gun to use. Now next, for the other heavy category, I have the C58 with the EM2. Now I know the EM2 got a nerf, but I think even after the nerf, if you can control that recoil, which is pretty heavy, this thing will fry you out. I think it's better for PC players. It's way easier to control on PC, but on console, I use it on console. I'm on console, and I think it's not that bad really. I kind of like rocking the regular scope, so I don't add a scope. I feel like when I add the 3x scope, it doesn't really feel the same as when it's on the stock scope. It feels like it's less recoil on the stock scope than the 3x scope. I feel like I get more recoil on the 3x scope, so I don't know, that might be like a mental thing for me or something, but I kind of like rocking it with no optic. Agency, task force, field agent, 40 rounds, or you could go 50. Might be a little bit more heavy on the 50. It does shoot pretty slow, but the damage is insane if you can land these shots. And I put the airborne elastic. Is personal preference. You could go with the flinch resistant one, or you could even go with a stock or ember or laser, whatever you want, whatever floats your boat, or the optic if that floats your boat. But you can get your shots with this, control that recoil. Man, you're gonna be frying out with this gun. C58, also another one. I love using this one. Is a little bit easier to control, more easier to control than the EM2, but same thing. A lot, very heavy for the mag. Get a lot of damage per mag, per bullet. And it's really nice when you hit those shots. TTK is insanely fast, especially when you mount. A little bit easier to use when you mount. Agency, task force, 3x scope, 45 round mags or 55. I kind of like 45. I feel more slower on the slower side with 55. So kind of personal preference there. And then field agent, of course, real heavy to use, but if you could control that recoil, those are the meta guns to use. Next, we have the easy to use category, which is the Fara and the Grau. Now, I could have added few other weapons in here, maybe like the M13 or the Kilo, or the Cooper. I know a lot of people also like the Cooper. And then, a few other guns, the Bruin maybe, or maybe the Brand. It's still got that recoil, but it's still relatively easy to use. or the PKM, other things like that that go under the radar. But I think the best ones overall, balanced, easy to use, is the Fara and the Growl. Now the Fara, very low recoil. It's like very minimal. It's just up, just pull down a little bit. Has a lot of bullets, 60 rounds, and it's pretty easy to use. Does a lot of damage for the fire rate and how easy to use it is. I really love it. I love using this. I fry out every time, especially when you mount. It's like you're just shooting straight. It's very easy to use. The Groove Suppressor, last barrel, long barrel, 3x scope, 60 rounds, spet, NAS, grip. Kind of the same, like you see the same pattern with these colder weapons. Kind of the same thing for the long range. And with the Growl, I got the Mono, Tempest, Tac, Commando, and the 50 rounds. You can rock 60. Personally, I don't know why. I like the 50 rounds a little bit better. If you don't want to rock the Tac laser, you could rock either a rear grip or a perk. Maybe sleight of hand if you want that, or optic, which I don't really think you need an optic on the Growl. Or you could opt out, go with one of these stocks here, whatever floats your boat. But I kind of like the way it looks, and I like the little bit faster ADS time with that Tac laser. Now next, I have the balance section, which is going to include the Krig, the M4, the XM4, and the STG. Now this could have easily gone onto the easy to use category, but I'm kind of just gonna put these balance here because they are really good for what they are. The Krig is kind of the same thing as easy to use and balance. Very low recoil. Well, it's not low recoil, but it's easy to control recoil. There's nothing really that's little recoil besides like maybe the Milano, really, without having to control it. But I mean, if you can't control a little bit of recoil, I think by now you should be able to. Agency, last barrel, field agent, 60 rounds, and the 3x scope. Some people hate on the weapon. I personally really think it's really good. It really fries out. It really does fry out. I've gotten a lot of 20 bombs with the Krig. I enjoy using it. I don't know. It's really nice. And then next, I have my M4A1, the underrated, the OG, the OG reliable M4A1, stock M16, Tac laser, Mono, Commando, and the 60 round mags. I don't know. It's just whenever nothing's working out, I go back to the M4, and it just hits right on the spot. It's really good. I mean, it's the M4, you know, it's the classic OG, and I really enjoy using it, and I think it's pretty balanced for what it is. Next is the XM4 and the STG. Now the XM4, I know it got a slight nerf a few updates back. And then some people were saying that it got a buff and yada. But this is up there with the meta. Relatively easy to use. Not as easy to use as like a Krig or a XM4. I mean, or as a Fara. I mean, my bad, I'm confusing the names. But it does do a lot of damage. It's like the M4. But I don't know. I don't know if I pick the XM4 over the M4 or the M4 over the XM4. I don't know which one, XM4 over M4 or the M4 over the XM4. Let me know. I don't know which one is better. I'm kind of in the middle of things. They're both kind of the same weapon, really, XM4, M4. But this one I feel like is a little bit faster to use, a little bit more quicker, if that makes sense, because I don't know, it's just I don't know, it's kind of the same thing though. Really good weapons overall. That's the build for it right there. Same long barrel, field agent, 60 rounds, 3x scope agency for the colder weapons. And then next we have a STG. Now this one you can build it many ways. There's a lot of people that rock the 50 rounds. I personally like the 60 a little bit more. I feel like you get less hit markers on the 60, but on the 50 you do shoot faster and you get less recoil with the 50 there. So it's kind of personal preference there. And also with the perks, you can use sleight of hand, you can use focus, whenever you get hit you basically don't get any flinch at all, which is really underrated. Or you could go with vital, but Vital I think got nerfed a few updates back also, so that's why I don't really like Vital anymore. Before though, it used to be really good, but not as much anymore. Fully loaded, the VDD 34S weighted. This one is a little bit more heavy than the 27, but you do get better accuracy, better flinch resistance, better recoil than the 27. Even though they're both good options, this one's a little bit slower but a little bit better. We are doing long range here. Then we have the SVT. 40p. You scope 3 through 6 times. Is the really easy scope there. Is just like that, very simple, and you can zoom in and out. The VDD 760 mm 05B second barrel here for the long range. Best high bullet velocity for the longest range. Best barrel for long range, and the MX silencer for that long range obviously also. And you can either pick and choose, either go carver or hand stop. I personally think with either of these two you could go with carver. You do get a little bit of more vertical recoil. M4 hand stop, you get more of that horizontal recoil, which, you know, is kind of personal preference there. If you just want to pull down just vertically down, go with the carver. If you like going down left or whatever, then hand stop. It's kind of personal preference there. I think with the carver is a tiny bit easier, but sometimes I could switch from this to that, you know. And also polymer and lengthen, obviously that's an easy one. And then honorable mentions, I have the Vargo, the Ram 7, the Automaton, and the AS44. Now the reason I didn't put these up there with the top 10 was because I don't really have them leveled up. I see a lot of people use it. I haven't leveled them up. I probably should, so I can give my opinion on them. But if you know the build for the Vargo, it can be very viable up there with those other weapons. And also the Ram 7, very low recoil. When you mount, it gets rid of like basically 80% of its recoil when you mount, and it has a good TTK, very fast TTK. But those 50 rounds do kind of hurt it a little bit. I wish there was like a 60 round option. So that's why it's a little bit out of the top 10, but it's still viable, very good. Also the Automaton, I don't have it leveled up. I have it like level 46, but I'm not a fan of it for some reason. I can't really get around to use it even when I pick it up. It's okay, but for me it's kind of in the outside of the box a little bit. But some people do like using it, you know. I'm not sure on the best class for it. I'm pretty sure it's kind of the same thing like with the STG vibe. But this one we actually do get tight grip, and the STG we don't. Here will obviously be polymer. This one, there's like a 70 round option for this one. And then lengthen obviously, but I don't have it unlocked. Either the carver or the hand stop, kind of the same thing there. I think is this one. This is the best stock. You can either go with this one or the other, the PU scope, the long one. And yeah, so I mean, like I said, many ways you could build these weapons, and also the AS44. I don't have it leveled up, but if you did, you would kind of know what attachments to put on there. These are other weapons that are honorable mentions, basically. Also other viable weapons there if you want to use. Like I said, also like the Bren is another viable weapon. The Bruin, the PKM is also viable. A lot of people don't talk about those weapons. And I'm trying to see what else really. Like I said, the Milano long range class, you could try that, but you are burning through SMG ammo really fast. And let me see what else. The new AR kind of was kind of mid a little bit. The Grav and KG and Groza and oh yeah, I forgot the QBZ. Kind of build it the same way like we did with the Kotal weapons. Also could be another viable honorable mention there. Don't use that for free or for long range. It is not good. The Volk, also the Volk, it could be used for kind of more for close quarters really for the Volk. The bar, some people maybe want to try that out for long range. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the long range option here on Warzone. So let me know what y'all think about my long range option, long range meta. I think it's actually very good right now. Have a lot of options you can use. It's not one particular thing that's meta. So I kind of like the overall option, or you know, freedom of use whatever you want. You can use this and that and still beat the best, or not really the best. There's nothing really that's meta right now. It's kind of really balanced. But those are my top 10 and honorable mentions. Let me know what y'all think about it in the comments down below. If you made it to the end, comment. I have this old car here. Comment Mercedes. It's a Mercedes car. Comment Mercedes if you made it to the end, bruh. Thank you. Either way, take care of yourself, and I'm outie. Peace.